Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Pharmacy Podcast, your guide to buying, selling, or starting a pharmacy, featuring Ollin Sykes and Scotty Sykes. Okay, so welcome everybody to another episode here. We're going to talk about your pharmacy owner out there. You're wondering just either you're selling your pharmacy or buying a pharmacy. So what's the pharmacy worth?
It's always a valid question to ask especially if I'm a seller. I want to maximize that value, and I want that value to be shown over a period of time, 2, 3, 4 years out. I want to be building that value of the pharmacy prior to making the decision to make that sale, whether it's either an asset sale or a common stock sale. First and foremost, we want to try to maximize the cash flow. And when we're maximizing that cash flow, that is commonly referred as your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That number is typically recasted for personal items that you may have in the pharmacy so that a potential buyer can come in and take that positive cash flow and or adjusted EBITDA, put some multiplier on that to determine the value of the goodwill, and then add to that the value of other assets potentially that you're selling. Again, if you're selling assets, you may be selling inventory, receivables, furniture, fixtures, equipment. You may have some technology. You may have a land and building, but all those assets in an asset purchase would be added to the value of the goodwill of the script files. And in making that EBITDA determination, we typically look at 3 or 4 years of historical numbers. We sometimes will weight those numbers more to the current year than to the past third or fourth year. We go through some calculations to determine what is a fair way of looking at the value of that cash flow, and then add that to our asking chart of assets that are being offered for sale. So it all starts with fundamental accounting numbers. First and foremost, you want to show as long a history as you can, and the trends, you want the trends to be very positive in terms of the types of revenue that you've had, the script growth that you've had. Obviously, you're going to need to make COVID adjustments. So COVID changed pharmacies for about 18 months, 2 years, and I, as a buyer, don't want to pay for those COVID adjustments, and all of that has to be reflected in. But you've got to find somebody who is dealing with this on an ongoing and continuous basis, and not just taking a tax return, and not just taking a financial statement that's been issued, and just using that to make a determination. Often, many of the wholesalers will take what's only offered to them, which is tax returns and financial statements, and perform certain valuation metrics that they have formulas to deal with. And there are no less than 15 or 20 different ways to determine values for pharmacies. However, there are typically 3 or 4 ways that are more common than others, and we've just spoken about them in this video. So it's a very important process to work with professionals that know what they're doing in this particular arena. Making sure your fundamental numbers are in place, making sure you're starting way ahead of time, and not just coming to the end of a calendar year saying, okay, I want to sell, and then you haven't prepared for it for the last 2, 3, or 4 years. So it's a preparation process that has to take place in a strategy, which includes making sure that the physical aspects of your pharmacy are in order as well.
So a multiple of cash flow is a common way. What about a pharmacy that has made some blunders? They're not profitable. There's no multiple of cash flow. What options are they looking at?
Sometimes we'll see a situation like that exist where there's not positive cash flow, or there are very large adjustments there, and sometimes you have to home in to some of the alternative ways of doing valuation, including valuation of script files and valuations of other assets. But typically, if you're a seller, that's going to work against you if you don't have positive cash flow. or a situation I'm working with now, the payroll that the pharmacy has, they're trying to sell the pharmacy, is way out of line and it's hurting those cash flow determinations. And the potential buyers are looking at that, even though could make the argument that they could eliminate payroll. Potential buyers are saying, well, you've been running this excess payroll for a number of years. And if we come in and make changes, even though you have a sizable pharmacy, the whole character of the pharmacy could change and it may not be worth what you believed it is. So you got to be very careful that your key performance metrics are in line for the years coming up to the point in time of selling.
Absolutely. And valuations can be, like you said, there's multiple ways to value a pharmacy. 15, 20 you'll see thrown out there from time to time. And knowing what the banks are how they're gonna value a pharmacy can be very insightful in terms of how you're gonna look at valuing your pharmacy. I don't know. I'm just rambling on at this point.
Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. That kind of does it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in, and we will circle back with more episodes.